Hello and welcome. My name is Nicola Wedderburn, and I am the Interim Executive Director of ILA. ILA has been my professional home for nearly 12 years, and it's always such a joy to meet our members, even if it's virtually. In fact, if you've attended an ILA annual conference and visited our ILA Central, you may have already met me. Those of you out there who are not currently part of the ILA family, I encourage you to visit our website, literacyworldwide.org, to see what today's ILA is all about and what we are doing to support educators like you across the globe. Before we begin, I have just a few housekeeping notes. For those of you joining us live, the chat is enabled, so please feel free to connect with our attendees and share reflections throughout. The recording of this event will be available within the next few days. You'll be able to access that at literacyworldwide.org/digital events. Lastly, if you're tweeting along, please remember to tag ILA at ILA Today and use the hashtag ILA Webinar. I'm excited to introduce you to our first speakers, but first, I'm delighted to share some news about our ILA National Recognition Program. ILA announced just this morning that Grambling State University is the latest recipient of the ILA National Recognition with Distinction, which is our highest institutional honor. We are fortunate to have a representative from Grambling with us today, Mary Kankezi. So be sure to congratulate Mary and the rest of the Grambling team when she speaks with us in just a bit. Now I'd like to introduce our speakers. Helen Perkins is the chair of the ILA National Recognition Commission and is a current board member of ILA. Diane Kern served as co-chair of the ILA Standards Revision Commission and was the key architect of the ILA National Recognition Program. Helen and Diane will provide an overview and goals of today's event and talk about the benefits of national recognition, how to apply, and the timeline for doing so. And without further ado, please welcome Helen Perkins and Diane Kern.
Hello, everybody. We are so happy I joined Nicola in welcoming you and saying to you, thank you for coming and joining us today. We appreciate you being here. Our purpose today is to address and to provide information about ILA National Recognition. You will be very informed when you leave us today. And we're also going to discuss and share information with you about becoming a reviewer. What's really important that you will discover during this time with us is that we have a packet that has been well put together by several ILA members, and we're happy to share that packet with you. So please don't hesitate to request the packet that will provide you all the application information that you need. So our national recognition is a really great benefit for any program, professional program and classroom program preparing people in the area of literacy. What does it mean for an institution to earn, like Grambling and others, to earn this recognition? Is it demonstrates that the institution adheres to a rigorous set of standards for preparing literacy professionals, setting your university apart from any other university that does not have that ILA credential. These seals of approval granted only by ILA show that the program meets or exceeds ILA's high standards for excellence. To qualify for ILA national recognition, institutes must demonstrate that their program aligns with standards for the preparation of literacy professionals 2017. The ILA National Recognition Review process helps institutions to create the strongest, best education preparation programs possible. And earning ILA recognition confirms the strength of your program. ILA recognition is something that institutions, universities, colleges can use to market their program to potential students. You can also, it's a brand that you have now once you've been identified and received ILA national recognition. So ILA recognition validates your status as an essential program in the university setting and assists in obtaining new resources from your university and college. It also bolsters your grant application. So we all love bolstering our grant application, right? ILA currently offers both a reading literacy specialist program and an elementary intermediate classroom teacher program, and we plan in the future to even expand it. So we're excited about that. If you, as I said earlier, if you decide to apply, and we hope many of you do, you will request a packet from ILA, and the packet information will address all your queries. But if the packet information does not address all your queries, ILA is ready and to share that information with you and address any query that you might have. You apply with the packet. The first stage is stage 1, and that's the ILA recognition packet, that self-study that you will put together and submit to ILA. And of course, there is a timeline for submitting. We have a fall and a spring cycle timeline for submitting your packet. Thank you, Angela. So for the spring cycle, you can see the application and payment January 1, and then you submit your self-study report. And this whole self-study report is delineated in the packet, so you know exactly what you need to put in your report based on your institution and their alignment with our professional standards. And then self-study report, self-study review, there are the dates, and then the final decision that will take place in May once our reviewers, and we have a set of reviewers, and Diane will share more about that later. But then there's a fall cycle, and there are the dates and the information about the fall cycle. So you've got lots of information to help you, and we're excited that you have chosen to be here and that you may possibly submit an application. Next, Diane will give a brief overview of the review process, and this will be helpful for those interested in becoming a program reviewer. And we're excited that we do have people here today in this session that are interested in becoming reviewers. So thank you. For those institutions and learn more about reviewers' role and how the review will work for their program. After she has given a brief overview, we invite you to join a breakout room with Beverly, a current national recognition reviewer, and she will answer questions that you may have about reviewing. Diane, thank you for being here and joining us and helping us with this.
Thank you, Helen. It's my pleasure to work with all of you at ILA and all of you ILA members and colleagues across the country and world, perhaps. I'm Diane Kern. I am a professor of literacy and English language arts teacher education at the University of Rhode Island, and I have been deeply involved in ILA national recognition for quite some time, and helped collaboratively with many colleagues around the country to develop the national recognition process, as well as to work on the 2010 standards and 2017 standards. Excited to be here with you. So the ILA reviewer process that we'd like to share with you briefly today is that colleagues from around the country, like me, when I was a junior faculty member, all the way to a senior faculty member, choose to review because it helps us deeply understand the ILA standards, the expectations for elementary and intermediate classroom teacher preparation, as well as reading specialist literacy coach preparation, and to help you and your program revise your curriculum to perhaps apply, we hope, for ILA national recognition and national recognition with distinction. It also is a space where you can collaborate with colleagues to learn about current assessments and ideas that colleagues are using. And it's a very iterative, formative, supportive process that you're a part of. It also is a way for you to influence educator preparation across the country, and potentially in the future across the world. Just some specific information besides the purpose of ILA is that when we hope that you become an ILA reviewer, that you will be supported in that process. You will be given opportunities for professional learning, supports. There's an ongoing support from the staff and from commissioners. Helen is the chair of our commission and our co-chair of our commission. She'll have to correct me on that after I finish my piece. And so you have a lot of support, and then you review with other team members, folks who are more experienced and folks who are newer. And so it is a consensus decision as you are or it shouldn't say consensus decision, consensus work that you do when you fill in the reviewer report. And then you submit the report and it moves on to the commission, and that's where the national recognition decision is made. Helen, I'm going to turn it over to you if there's anything else, and if you could please correct me. I think you and Dana were co-chairs of the commission. I don't know if that's changed.
Thanks, Diane. Right now I'm the chair. Dana is doing some research work, and he has a bigger job to do. So right now Dana is not. I'm just the chair by myself. So thanks, Diane. We've invited 2 representatives whose program, I'm sorry, guys. If you're interested in becoming a reviewer, please join Beverly in a Zoom breakout room. She can share her experience and answer any questions about becoming a program reviewer. So if you're interested in being a reviewer, you want to know more about reviewing, we have a master reviewer ready to share information with you and to address any queries that you might have. So at this time, you can join Beverly's breakout room. So again, thanks so much, Diane. And we've invited 2 representatives whose programs have earned national recognition, yay, to share their stories. The first person is Sue. Sue's a member of ILA National Recognition Commission, and she is an ILA board member. As a program coordinator for Notre Dame College, she'll have to fix that one for me. Sue will talk about her experience throughout the process and also share tips on understanding if the process is right for your program, questions to consider, and what to expect. So please join me in welcoming Sue Corbin. Thank you, Sue.
Thank you, Helen. It just makes me so happy to see 2 badges there. We were able to get national recognition for both our elementary intermediate classroom teacher preparation program and our reading specialist preparation program. So this has been an exciting journey for us, one that was a lot of work, but it helped us to shine a light on some things that we needed to make better and could improve upon. You know, you're never perfect, and you're always trying to change things and have that sense of continuous improvement. And so we were able to tighten up our assignments, our rubrics, think more about community outreach. In our graduate program, we incorporated more in the way of coaching for our people in preparation, as they were able to look at not only each other in class, but also going out into their schools and doing some coaching there. We even used some video cameras to be able to see each other, and using Go React, which is a really great way to videotape and to watch each other and to provide some timed stamped comments that are very, very important. But I'll be more than happy to answer your questions in a minute. I do have some things that I wanted to go over with you, though. Helen had said last week when we talked that she wanted us to show our passion for our national recognition, and I can definitely do that. For me, as chair of our Division of Education and Literacy Coordinator, it was a moral imperative to me to be recognized by the organization that has set the bar on excellence in literacy research and instruction since its foundation in 1956, when I was 5 years old and just learning to read. From the beginning, the mission of ILA, or IRA as it was then called, was to provide a high-quality professional development for reading teachers, seek out research, and create policies that would enhance reading instruction for all learners, collaborate with other national and international organizations dedicated to the well-being of children, promote evidence-based practices and policies, and work with people around the world to study and provide leadership concerning critical issues related to literacy. Those goals are still part of ILA and its state and local affiliates, and it's never been more important than it is now, with the onset of a new reading war among educators. The Science of Reading Coalition in Ohio has taken hold of the legislature and the State Board of Education to the extent now that teachers are being forced to give up some tried and true practices of balanced, culturally responsive, and child-centered reading in favor of a process that is narrow in scope and misguided in theory to a great degree. I know of at least 2 Ohio college professors who either retired or changed jobs because of the pressure they faced to teach only the simple view of reading and Orton Gillingham in their pedagogy classes. I get calls every week from teachers about where they can go to get trained in teaching children with dyslexia because the state will only accept a few approved programs. The tension is high. Teachers are confused, and I'm afraid that the new screening program for kindergartners and dyslexia will lead to widespread epidemic of reading problems that we ourselves will have created. Now, an interesting backstory to our national recognition from ILA. Our division used to be approved by the International Dyslexia Association, back when their requirements were more attuned to a balanced approach than they are now. We were up for renewal the same year that we decided to go for national recognition from ILA. But when we received our status report from International Dyslexia Association, we politely but firmly told them that we could no longer be associated with them. In order for us to be renewed, we would have had to teach the science of reading and the simple view of reading only, with using no other lenses or theory. We'd have to completely change our literacy curricula to focus on bottom-up structured literacy, phonics-heavy courses, and drop textbooks by people like Tim Rosinski, Nancy Paddock, Leslie Mandel-Morrow, and Thomas Gunning. Our field experiences would have had to focus on teaching Orton Gillingham and Wilson foundations and not allow candidates to use authentic assessments as a basis for individualized instruction. When our notice of approval came for our graduate literacy program from ILA, you can bet there was a lot of celebration in our building. We had met the gold standard, and then our undergrad, elementary, and intermediate level program was approved, and we were literally over the moon. It had taken us a little more work to achieve the undergraduate recognition, especially since we were reporting on the previous years when schools were closed and we couldn't place students for clinicals. We were able to report on what we were able to get done, though, in terms of supporting children online when the technology worked, and providing teaching demonstration videos from Educational Impact for modeling and reflection. Going through the resubmission was really very helpful for us in making more intentional revisions in course syllabi and aligning more directly with ILA standards for undergraduates. Our rubrics were made stronger with more precise language and defined point values for each criterion. Early courses in literacy pedagogy and theory were made more rigorous with scholarly reading of research articles from juried journals. And we created a crosswalk with ILA and EdTPA standards to indicate how our early childhood and intermediate literacy program clinicals are connected. And we were able to report on a newly awarded grant that is helping us to get our candidates out into the community for tutoring programs in Montessori schools in literacy and math. We were also inspired by our resubmission, thinking about how could we get out into the community more. We brought the community into us more recently. We had what was called a literacy night on our campus, and we have a makerspace and a teacher demonstration classroom. So we had breakout groups with parents and their children and our teacher candidates working together with easy kinds of things that the parents could do at home to work with their children. The kids had a lot of fun. The parents were really very happy to learn some things that they could do at home to help to support their children. And this was in a lot of ways an effort to help it close that COVID gap that has occurred. And I think really this has led to a much more positive and productive partnership with our local school system. They know us a little bit more, we know them more, and we're planning on more activities that will be involving families and family literacy. I think everyone wins when families and children are supported by the teaching faculty and by candidates when they share ideas and strategies. So our belief is that our little college in Northeast Ohio is carrying the torch for literacy in our state, and we can prove it with our ILA National Recognition. It came at the perfect time when we were vulnerable to being shut down by the state because we refused to follow their lead. When our reading endorsement program came due for state reapproval, it could not ignore our ILA recognition and our positive licensure scores on state exams. We don't entirely discount the science of reading, but we see it as one way to approach literacy. So now when we are being criticized for not focusing on just one way of perceiving literacy, we can hold up our ILA certification as proof that we know what we're doing. We can assure candidates that their coursework will provide them with a wide range of theories and perspectives on literacy, and that they will become familiar with not only research-based, but research-tested strategies to guide children on their literacy journeys. Candidates will gain a repertoire of formative and summative assessments that will provide them with an understanding of children's targeted needs so that they can meet children where they are and build on what they can do rather than focus on deficits. They will explore different kinds of texts and learn how to motivate readers with books that match their interests and that are culturally responsible and responsive. Communities and schools in our candidates' purviews will benefit from the outreach that candidates provide with in-school and after-school tutoring, programs that involve community leaders and families, and book giveaways to children who may not have libraries of their own. And finally, the colleagues of our candidates will have role models and coaches to support them in their classrooms. Personally, this achievement has meant the world to me as a longtime member of ILA and as an advocate for children. Nothing makes me happier than seeing a child light up with a book in front of them, and I'm so proud and honored to be part of ILA. My college's mission, founded by the Catholic nuns from the Order of the Sisters of Notre Dame, has been to prepare students for personal, professional, and global responsibility. Our partnership with ILA helps us to fulfill that mission as a division of professional educators who care about children and books.
Thank you, Sue. We appreciate you sharing that information with us. And again, congratulations, Notre Dame, on your 2 national recognition, not only in the Reading Literacy Specialist preparation program for graduate students, but also in your elementary intermediate classroom. What a great honor. And thank you. You shared some very important information. I was going to take a few notes and share some really highlights, but your whole presentation was a highlight. So you kind of left me without any notes to highlight. But I did want to say that I appreciate that you shared how working on the standards with your program and making sure your programs were aligned with the standards helped you to enhance your programs. And that is awesome information to know. And thank you so much. I agree. Someone placed in the chat, Sue, that this was an inspiring message and a motivating message. So an encouraging message is what I'm seeing in the chat. So thank you so much, Sue. We appreciate you sharing that valuable information, and the whole message that you just gave us was a highlight, the whole message.
Thank you. Thank you.
The many benefits of ILA national recognition, the many benefits.
Right. And I want to just say too, the support from ILA was amazing. So, you know, it is a big job to do this, but you're just supported so much along the way that it just makes it so much easier to do.
And Sue and Mary will share with you all also. It's a team effort.
Yeah.
ILA's team and your college and your university teams, that's how we make this successful, is our teams coming together to support each other, to support you, ILA's team, and to make you the recipients of this honor. So thanks again, Sue. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
So next we're joined by Mary, and Mary is a member of the ILA National Recognition Commission and is the program coordinator at Grambling State University. As you can see on the screen, they are our recent recipient of national recognition with distinction. Yay, Grambling! She will share what it is like to go through the national recognition process, lessons learned from the process, and how being a national recognition recipient has made a difference in Grambling's program. Please welcome Mary.
Hold on one moment. Let me share my screen. There we go. All right, welcome to Grambling State University, where everybody is somebody. And today I'm just gonna share with you all exactly the process of the self-study report. And before I begin, I actually really want to acknowledge the presence of Dr. Catherine Newman, who is professor and coordinator of the Grambling, of the graduate program in Grambling State University. I also want to recognize some of our colleagues who were part of this self-study report and who recently retired. So in the person of Dr. Loretta Jaggers, Pamela Payne, Dr. Josh Northland, Dr. Ellen Foster, Catherine Newman-Wissier, and my humble self, Mary Gonkez. So 3 of our members are retired, but the baton goes on. All right. An overview of Grambling State University Reading Program. Everything is focused on a college conceptual framework, which is Masters of Subject Matter Content, Facilitators of Learning, Enhancers, and Nurturers of Affective Behavior. And we will see that most of these 3 models, they actually do tie in with the ILA standards. And of course, our candidates will complete 18 hours of core courses, 15 hours in concentration, and of course, take a professional writing course, as well as complete a comprehensive exam. The focus for the program is actually to enable our candidates be able to plan, to teach, and understand assessment, intervention, evaluate, and be able to help our struggling readers in pre-K through 12 setting. So the process all started with the application in spring 2020. At the time, we definitely had very limited knowledge about 2017 standards, and we were still focused on 2010 standards. Because we knew we were limited, the lead at the time, Dr. Loretta Jaggers, decided we needed a consultant. So she looked for a consultant who came and then focused so much on the 2017 standards and the shift and the new changes. And of course, in the spring of 2020, we held several department retreat days trying to look at that, at the standards. We also decided at the time to kind of redesign all of our courses with the same format, and then to start identifying key assessments that will go with each of the courses. And of course, till spring 2020, we had to participate in some sessions with ILA to get more information about the 2017 standards. Then during fall of 2020, we did our first submission, October the 1st. And of course, we were confident we had everything, but it looks like we were wrong, because in December 2020, the bombshell fell. So we had the reviewer send us a report, which was all unacceptable throughout the report. Just what you see on my screen here, which just a little bit of some of the comments, like there is no assignment sheet, no scoring rubric, there's no detailed assignment direction, no rubric. All courses need to address ILA 2017 standards because some of our courses were still showing 2010 standards. And then of course, component 2.2 is not listed as a course objective. It is not listed on the rubric. I'm telling you folks, it was like the worst time in our lives looking at the unacceptable throughout the report. We actually kept it like some 2 weeks before we could open it again to look at it. Then the numerous unacceptable left us really perplexed, but not despair, struck down, but not destroyed, as the purpose of the self-study progress was so paramount to the team. We were passionate about the self-study report, and more than ever before, we wanted to be recognized nationally. And thanks to Dr. Loretta Jaggers, who will then add with distinction. So the main focus now was to see why we had the unacceptable ratings and to adequately address those issues. And then, of course, in one of the meetings with Dr. Diane Kern, came that aha moment, that moment that like a light bulb just, lighted everything. It was the concept of the matrix, which we had not used. So the matrix now was like a catalyst for us because we could easily determine where the alignment revisions were needed. It visually gave us to see what standards were missing and what standards we needed to focus on. So thank you, Dr. Diane, for that matrix. It really did help. So come October 1st, 2020, we resubmitted. And then of course, the anguish from that unacceptable just like haunted us, but at the same time, it was like a booster dose for diligent work to be done. So we took each feedback seriously. We had a checklist to make sure that each reviewer's comment was addressed. We provided the directions for the assignments, the rubrics, which we had left out in the first submission. And of course, we went into our courses and we looked at the objectives, we looked at the assignments, we looked at the standards, everything, the rubrics to make sure there was no discrepancy. And of course, we know that when it came to the first time we were submitting, because all the documents needed to be uploaded as one PDF file, there was some challenges with the person who was uploading. So this time around, we decided 2 team members to do the job, cross-checking and making sure every document was uploaded. Then, of course, December 2021 was the best Christmas gift we had. The best fulfilling news, which was that we were recognized nationally and with the options to move on to stage 2 with distinction. The feeling of meeting 65% of the scoring rubrics of the standard was indescribable. We were so elated. I mean, ubiquitously, we just had distinguished throughout the report. It was just a wonderful feeling and the best Christmas gift, like I said, which we had for 2021. So then we decided to go in for the distinction. And before the distinction, we had 2 revisions to make. We had the distinction for every standard except for component 4.4, where we were rated with acceptable. And so before the site visit, we decided, held several meetings as well as a team. And then we saw that we actually, we were lacking in 4.4, which is diversity and equity. And so we infused that component into 2 courses, 8504 and 8576, School Improvement Plan. And so here they are supposed to do like an equity action research and of course meet that standard. So after that revision, we were ready for stage 2, which was the site visit. So the site visit, we chose October 17 to 18, 2022. We held 2 webinars with ILA where they shared the logistics of the site visit and told us about the virtual workroom. The agenda was provided. We didn't need to do much. We just modified the agenda to suit us. And then of course, the biggest part was for us to reach out to our completers, to reach out to our school district partners, current students, and all of those stakeholders. And it was so much joy to find out that everyone we contacted was thrilled to be part of the interview. And of course, to us, our candidates, you know, we've talked about ILA. This now actually brought it to reality to them. ILA was not like an abstract thing in their mind. Here they were able to interact with the site visitors. It meant a lot to our current students. At this point, I want to also share and to say that there were best practices along this self-study process to the distinction. ILA support and the resources were very helpful. There were self-study writers collaboration meeting that was set up. And to us, we found that very helpful because with other universities, we were able to see that we were not alone through question and answer session. You know, we learned from each other. So it was a formative and supportive process because it provided that motivation and literacy spirit with other universities. Then, of course, the other ILA resources like the self-study preparation instruction, the template, the guidelines, and even the rubrics, they made that handy to us in the process of the self-study report. And so we could go back and then reread and then, you know, like a frame of reference to find out exactly what we needed to do. So thank you, ILA, for the support and the resources. We always say experience is the best teacher, and it is indeed the best teacher. We had more confidence knowing the trajectory of our program in this process. We had passionate team members. We had the same vision for the program, and so we were not defeated. We saw you know, the unacceptable as a time to revamp, to understand what we were doing. So there were a lot of planning, scheduling meetings only to accomplish that goal. Procrastination we found was a problem with our first submission. And of course, we learned a lesson from that. There's also good collaboration with stakeholders, which is important. Especially with our school partners. The reason why when we reached out to them for the interview, they were just like ready to be part of the process. Then of course, alignment of 2017 standards, objectives, assessment is the key in the whole process. And I think by now I can confidently and with pride say we are ready even for 2027, because now we know exactly what to do. A bright light at the end of the tunnel. Based on ILA self-study process, it offered us that platform for the faculty, the administrators, again, to examine the aspects of the Reading Literacy Specialist Program in the College of Education. It gave us an opportunity, again, like I said earlier, to examine our syllabi, the activities, course assignment, and the key assessment to identify the gaps and ways to foster program improvement. And so we are looking forward to celebrating this GSU ILA Distinction Award during our annual spring conference, which is a big deal of our program. Yes, it is a laborious process, but the outcome brings wonderful joy and satisfaction. ILA endorsement of our program and the feeling of staying abreast with literacy concept is so essential. We are so honored to be part of ILA Vision for Excellence in Literacy. Thank you all for listening. Gracias, merci beaucoup, Zonka. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you so much, Mary, and Catherine for working with her to share that valuable information. Oh man, that was so thorough and so detailed and provided, I'm sure, answers to queries that others may have that are here today thinking, wow, this is something I want to do. I want our university. And I put in the chat team, because Catherine's here and Mary's here, and Mary just completed a presentation. But as Mary pointed out, her team members earlier in her presentation, it really does take a team at your college and your university to accomplish your goal. And I'm so glad that I wasn't sure if Mary was going to share that they were unacceptable first when they submitted stage 1 self-study. But thank you so much, because Mary Gramling's story tells us that you can be unacceptable the first time. You know, what'd you do, Mary? Took 2 weeks and then came back and said, okay, we're going to look at it again, and we're going to discuss how we can revise and do better and resubmit. And all that work, they saw where they needed to make differences and changes, and they saw even just submitting stage 1 self-study, they decided they needed 2 people to do that job. So they found their needs and they addressed each need. And now look at Grambling State University. I'm so proud. Look at Mary doing her celebration dance. And I saw Catherine clapping too. But we all on this presentation, or all during this webinar today, celebrate with Grambling for receiving ILA National Recognition with distinction. And so we are very proud, and ILA celebrates with, and everybody here celebrates with Grambling. We really appreciate it. When reviewers, there's a team of reviewers, that 3 or 4 reviewers, or as many as we can have in a team. And so there are 4 different recommendations. The first recommendation is to award ILA recognition and the invitation to proceed site visit to determine ILA National Recognition with distinction, recommended distinction. And that's what Grambling, that was their recommendation after their non-acceptable recommendation. So recommendation 2 was to award ILA national recognition, to award ILA national recognition. Recommendation, guys, I'm sorry. Recommendation number 3 is minor visits and resubmit. And then there's a recommendation 4 that comes from the reviewers and goes to the commission. And the final recommendation is to clarify and expand program fundamentals and then resubmit. And so we're not saying that sorry, go away, you didn't make it, you didn't do it. No, we have recommendations of various categories, and you get the opportunity, as Mary pointed out, to come back. And she did. I loved her presentation and the information that she shared. So Mary and Catherine, thank you. Catherine's behind the scenes, but Mary and Catherine, we appreciate your diligence to stay with it and to see it through. But look what happened when you stayed with it. You received the opportunity to go for distinction, and y'all did it. Bang, bang, bang. I'm gonna do Mary. Here's Mary's dance. Y'all did it, and I'm dancing with Mary. So thank you so much, Mary. We appreciate you and Sue sharing your stories today. Inspiring stories too. I didn't know we were going to get inspired and motivated, but thank you. Very inspiring and motivating. So now it is time. At this time, we're going to do a Q&A. So we would like to address a few of your questions that you have posed in the chat during today's session. So I'm looking to see if there are any queries in the chat, and Angela will make sure I don't miss any, right, Angela? Oh, wow. That's a good one, Suzanne. And Suzanne, thank you for your positive comments and congratulating both of our college and universities here today. Suzanne says, what ideas do you have for funding this process? Sue and Mary, can you talk about how your process was funded?
Well, I just basically told our Office of Academic Affairs, we really need to have this because it'll look really good for us in the not only in the local community, but nationally. And so, since we're such a small college, they were more than happy to support us with that. And they are always telling us we don't have enough money for anything. Yeah. So, but when I made it really clear to them that, look, this is going to be really important. It will bring people into our college, and that has happened. I get a lot of people saying, I saw that you had this national recognition. I was really impressed. And so, sometimes you have to say it with a smile, but just say, we really need to do this. But I would imagine you could get some grant money as well for something this important.
Thank you, Sue. Mary, do you want to add anything to the funding query?
For the funding, all I would say, when it came for us to pay for the fees and so on, I just took it to the dean, and of course the administrator paid for that. So I guess if I didn't understand the funding part well, but whatever monetary contribution we needed to do came from the department.
Mm-hmm. And also, if I can add, when we explained the process to administration, they were very excited about the process. So they were very supportive.
Yeah, and that's the first thing I would do is ask my dean, my chair, because I've learned that you can ask for the money and sometimes they can find the money that they have. And so, or if not, you can ask them and then Ask them if there are other avenues. Is there a donor that you might ask? But I can also let you guys know that ILA has lowered the payment so that it's not so overly expensive for you to go through this process. So anybody else have any suggestions? Okay, so our next one is, what's our next one? Did we have another one, guys?
Someone asked how many programs have received recognition.
I can tell you that we have 4 programs that have received national recognition with distinction and 11 more that have received ILA national recognition. And you can find those on our website. If you in the chat, Diane Kern put a link in there.
Yeah, and then I think, is someone asking, I'm trying to get to it because I thought I saw something someone was asking us about. Are there standards, Diane and Debbie or whomever wants to answer this one, are there standards around evaluating effectiveness of instruction and requiring the use of K-12 student data?
So great. This is Diane Kern. Great question, Michelle. I'm looking back at the standards, and these are the 2017 standards. And sorry, I forgot to turn on my camera too. So we have a standard on assessment and evaluation. And so, yes, using student data to inform instruction is standard 3.3. And that's my quick answer. I would need to scroll back in. Yeah, so I think you'll see standard 3 will help you with that. And then as Mary brought up, there is a matrix for both the report writers as well as the reviewers that help you know what is exemplary, what's meet the standard, as far as how you do that. And it is guidance, but that is what the reviewers are going to be using to determine if you've met standard 3.3. And we also have ideas in the standard document and the guidelines as to how to address the standards. And we'll be adding more documentation like that to support you in the future with the leadership of Lara DeLoza, who I think is on this call as well.
Diane, someone is asking if the matrix is available.
So the matrix is in the packet that you request. And so if an ILA colleague would put that, where to request that, that would be great if you could put that in the chat. All you have to do is make a request and we will help you with that.
Yeah, for more information, ILA has placed in the chat. For more information on ILA National Recognition, please visit the following link. And the packet is available when you make the request. And then Debbie and team will send you the packet. So as ILA does so well, they placed in the chat where you can request the packet. So the link is there where you can request the packet if you so desire to do so. Now, here's one that's asking about submitting the self-study now or submit when we are ready. Is a 2-month self-study report difficult to meet, and I'd rather not be rushed in the process? So you can make a request, and I'm going to ask Diane and Debbie also to join me, but you can make a request for the packet and begin working on the process tonight. well, I'm not sure if Debbie's going to get you to pack it that fast. So maybe you better wait on it and work on the process starting in the morning. But anyway, and then is it difficult? I'm going to say that Sue can tell you if it's difficult to meet. But remember, we have 4 recommendations. And so you could fall into any of those recommendations. And so I would not say it's too difficult to meet. It just, like we continue to say, get a team together. And Diane, the standards are in here. And so this is our trustee standards for the preparation of literacy professionals 2017. I saw Diane looking through her trusty book with tabs and everything like mine is, because we were both involved in the writing of the standards, and Diane was one of our leaders. Dana's here, he was involved in the writing of the standards. And so if you just sit down with your team and start looking at the packet, is very clear on what needs to be in there. And so I would just get my team together and look at the packet first and discuss the packet and then start to work. Sue, what would you like to say?
Well, and I just saw a question come up, is ILA recognition related to CAPE? It's not directly related, but it's a similar process where you're gathering syllabi and rubrics and assignments. You're looking at your licensure scores for your state tests. And, you're considering all of the things that your candidates do. What are the requirements for entering the program? What are the gateways that you have along the way to maintain continuous progress? I really think, maybe I don't want to pat myself on the back, but I did the bulk of the work for both of these. So because literacy is my thing, and we've been using the 2017 standards for a while, since 2017, and I think we had a pretty solid program to begin with, especially in the graduate program. So I wouldn't say that the work is difficult. It does take time. But, I'm a very busy division chair, and, I teach and I'm on committees and all of that. And I had one other person who would look things over for me, but that was our process. We just don't have that many full-time people here. So, I do literacy, right? So.
So that goes along with what Elizabeth is saying. What is the approximately time commitment? And she's saying that their team is small. Well, Sue is saying her team was real small. It consisted of one and then one other person. And Sue did the bulk of the work. But Sue, how long did it take you, just approximately, to get your stage 1 self-study submitted?
Well, yeah, I would say it took me, I remember working a lot in the summer, and so I had more time during the day. So it took me probably a couple of weeks working, I want to say maybe 4 hours a day on it. And a lot of that was just, gathering, downloading and uploading. And like Mary said, figuring out how to get everything on one document. That was a little tough, but I always hate to, I can never think about how many hours I worked on something, but because you stop and you start. But I would say a good couple of weeks with spending most of your day at it and thinking through, because you don't want to just throw it together. I tend to be a little anal about details and going over and over things. So it might have taken me a little bit longer than it would take somebody else. But again, I did it myself, and as I said, I'm super busy. So if I can do it, you can do it.
Yes, I agree. Did we address, I lost it. Did we address the relationship between CAPE and ILA National Recognition? Diane, did we address that? I don't.
So I just responded to Susan Gapp's question in the chat, and there is a link that Lara DeLoza did a press release on that you can read. But in short, ILA is no longer a SPA member of CAPE, and neither are we a SPA member of AQEP, which is our other national accreditor at this time. And ILA in 2019 discontinued its membership with CAPE, as many other professional associations did. And in part, it was because our standards are ILA's thought leadership and our standards, and we wanted to create this national recognition with this period and national recognition with distinction standalone process. So I'm deeply involved in the work with CAPE and AQEP over the years. And I see this, while we discontinued as a SPA member, that this work is complementary to the CAPE and the AQEP process, as Sue nodded to, which is it's a self-reflexive, self-study process where you do the curriculum mapping, you ensure that you are meeting the standards, and then the work that you do for ILA National Recognition shows your candidates' content knowledge and pedagogical content knowledge, which is a part of both CAPE's standards and AQEP standards. And so it's complementary to the work, but it is at this point standalone, whereas prior to 2019, it was integrated with CAPE.
Thank you, Diane. That was very, very clear. Debbie, did I miss you wanting to say something? I don't want to.
I just wanted to add, in regards to the question, can we begin working on the self-study now and submit when we are ready? You can request an information packet, which will give you the guidelines and everything that you need to do for the self-study process. Now, review it, and then you can apply. And when you apply, you can decide which cycle you'd like to go through. So even if you request the packet now, it doesn't mean that you have to apply and submit for the January 1 deadline. You can hold off until the fall cycle for next year if you'd like.
Thank you. That's our ILA National Recognition guru, Debbie. She is definitely the go-to person for me all the time. So do we have any more? I think it's Lara or whomever at ILA that's including the links, because we just have the link put in to request an information packet. So if you want a packet, please request a packet. We would be happy to share that with you.
Helen, could I just say one quick thing?
You sure can, always.
I think as far as starting now, I think it would be really important to get the packet first. I would not suggest starting now for the January 1st deadline, just because you want to make sure that you get all of your ducks in a row and that you're thorough about it and that you have time to reflect. We're at the midterm of the semester and you've got finals coming up and the holidays, and no, I would definitely suggest waiting until the next cycle.
Thank you, Sue. Thank you. Okay, so we're a little early, but I would like to take this opportunity to thank everyone. Suzanne, thank you. We appreciate you all being here, and we appreciate you to join us in this informational session. I'm sure you were informed. If you have questions that come up after we wrap up and in a few minutes today, please don't hesitate to reach out to us, and we will be glad to address any queries that you have. The link is in the chat. If you have any specific questions, please don't hesitate to use that link to reach out to us. I encourage you to visit the National Recognition page on the ILA website, which has been shared. The ILA, the IL, oh, I can't even talk now, sorry. The link is in the chat. Just a reminder, the recording of this event will be available in the next few days, and you'll be able to access that at literacyworldwide.org. literacyworldwide.org/digital events to get the recording of this event. Before we go, please mark your calendars for upcoming ILA webinars on November the 9th. As you can see, from 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern on executive functions. Get that out of my way. Executive functions, foundations for self-regulated reading. And Kelly Cartwright will explore how deficits in executive functions can have a direct impact on word reading comprehension. And registration for this event is now open. So please, please register. Please keep an eye on the ILA Digital Events webpage for more upcoming events and additional on-demand events. I love receiving, if you're a member, you're receiving the emails about our digital events and you're receiving a link to sign up. So please consider that. I have attended many digital events, and I have gained knowledge. I have my notes ready, and I have gained so much knowledge in attending these events, and I'm able to share my knowledge with the graduate students, the master level and doc students that I work with here at the University of Memphis. So I promise you our ILA events webinars are very informative. If you're not already following ILA on social media, make sure to do so for the most up-to-date information. And thank you again for joining us. Have a great evening, afternoon. Bye, everybody.
But I have been a reviewer maybe since 2009. And I will say it's maybe one of the best things I ever did professionally, because it put me with other literacy professors, not just from Oklahoma. I was in Oklahoma at the time, but around the country. And then it also helped me, because I was a reviewer, that asked me to help with the standards 2017. So professionally, it really does promote your professionalism. And also, I think it's a great way to give back. I'm very concerned about the programs at the institutions to be highly rigorous. I think that's the word Diane used or Helen used, instead of just trying to get by and getting students through. So I think this is one place where you can become a big voice in helping literacy across the United States. And it sounds like the world later on. I just have another benefit that I found from it. We did, at the time when I started becoming a reviewer, we did not have our reading program anymore. That was not an emphasis in our department. But I got so many ideas from other institutions on how I can improve my undergraduate reading program. And I don't know how many ideas I stole from someone, but it is great to do, great way to give feedback into your own program. So if you have a reading literacy program at the doctorate or master's degree, you'll find that you get many great ideas.
So I guess my initial concern is I have been an assistant professor now for about 3 years. I'm still working towards tenure, and I didn't know if there were qualifications needed for reviewers, like if you need to already be an associate professor.
No, there's it doesn't matter what kind of a title you have with your name. The only thing is that I think they say every year or every 18 months, you have to go through the training. And usually the training now, because of COVID, has been virtual. So it's very easy to give yourself 2 hours to go through the training. And usually Diane has been part of it, but it sounds like Helen will kind of take over. And it goes over all the standards, making sure that we understand like what standard 1 is really looking for in a program through all the different standards, and there's 7 of them. So that training is very important. The title that you happen to have in your university is not important. In fact, we have some reviewers that are like literacy coaches in an elementary or middle school or high school. So that does not matter. But the training is very, very important. I think you have to go through that. Even since I've been a trainer for, since 2009, I still am required to go through the training just to make sure that there's no little changes. So, but it's good.
That's okay.
I can't hear you.
I have a question.
Yes.
Can you hear me now? Okay.
No, I can't. Yes.
I'm wondering if you are part of a reviewing team, or are you doing things on your own? And what does the team look like, and how are they selected?
Usually what happens about a month before the reviewing process starts, like in the spring, it would be before March 15, usually about February 15, you are asked if you are available. So if like last spring, I was not available because I had 2 manuscripts due. So, I mean, they're very good in saying, okay, Bev, that's okay. So, and then if you say yes, they will send you a whole list of the programs that are going to be reviewed for that cycle. And you may not review from your state, any institution in your state. You may not review where you got your master's degree or doctorate degree, or if you have published with someone, you can't, they make sure that you do not do a review for one of them. I usually have been on a team where there's at least 3 of us and sometimes 4. Usually a 4th one will be brand new to this, to the cycle. And that's good because there will be someone that is very senior, which happens to be someone like me or Diane. And then there's other 2 that have maybe done it once or twice. And so you're given, once you say yes, and you say confidentially, you're going to keep everything under hat. That's very, very important. We don't want anything to go out about an institution, negative or positive. It's just, it stays under our hat. Then you're given, they'll send you their program digitally. So you'll get all of their program, their self-study report, and the first thing I'll tell you what I usually do is once I get that, I read through everything and make sure something is not missing. Because sometimes the institution maybe forgot to include something, or maybe ILA, oh, it's there, but they forgot. It doesn't happen very often, but usually it's the institution that said, oh, we forgot to attach that, but here we have it. So that's the first thing I do, is make sure I have everything that I need. Then the next thing I do is I read through it just to try to understand their program, because every program is different. It's not going to be anywhere like yours. And so you have to, I always went in with open eyes and just to understand, like, okay, this is what they do. This is where they focus. And I don't try to just start with standard 1, because a lot of times maybe something is later in the report that you say, oh, they're missing this for standard 1. Well, it comes up later. So I take lots and lots of notes. I have a very strange system with color-coded pens, but I try to keep good notes. And then if I have a question, you will have access to your team. And so then I will, if something is missing or I didn't quite understand, you know, that sometimes it's just not articulated well enough for me to understand. So I will contact my team and I'll say, did you find or did you understand? And then we kind of collaborate. Then after you do that, you write up your report without knowing what anyone else has written. And then you start sharing your report with your team and seeing if you agree or disagree. There will always be a chair for the team, and that person is responsible for writing the last report that's given to ILA. And so if you're brand new, you usually will not be given that task. It's usually someone that's been reviewer for many times. Did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Are there on-site visits that occur?
You as a reviewer don't have to be on site. Usually it's a person that is really has been a reviewer for some time. And so you won't be asked to be on-site reviewer unless that you really want to do that. But usually it's reserved for someone from ILA and then someone, maybe the chair that has written up the report. And then of course, not everyone, your end report may end with, they have, you don't, it's, I love this process because it's not dinging them of what they don't have, but just, it will be like suggestions to the institution and saying, you know, we didn't quite find this. Can you, you know, clarify? So sometimes they don't make it the first time because they just have to do something a little more in depth, and we'll just suggest that they, again, then I think they have 12 months to try to insert something in their program that would address something that they're missing. So you can always I mean, if you don't pass the first time, you can make it. This is a great way to learn how to write good program reports. I mean, oh my, I had to write the elementary program report, but being a reviewer for ILA helped me so immensely in writing my own report, because you realize how concise and specific you have to be. Forget the adverbs, just give the facts. So it's a great way to learn how to write a report also, because you'll get to see good reports written. So that's a big benefit.
As far as time commitment, then it sounds like for the spring, they reach out in February, mid-February, and then is I guess the review and the work with the team happen March through April.
Yes.
Okay, that's your time commitment.
It's really a month of that you have to be available to your team. And usually, as I have been the lead reviewer, that's one that has to write the report, I will usually ask for it a week in advance so that the reviewers actually have 3 weeks to review. Mm-hmm. And then that gives the lead reviewer time to put it all together. And then I would always share it with my group, my team, and I would say, is there something that I missed? Is this clear? Because you know, you're submitting it as a team, even though there's a lead reviewer. And sometimes you're going to be on a team. I've had it a couple times where there's disagreement. There's just some team members can't come together. And so Diane at the time was in charge of program reports. So I would email Diane and I would say, I've done a lot of things with Diane. So I would say, Diane, what about this? And I would just spill it out. So now it will be Helen, and Helen is also very, very open to helping. I would say the ILA, whoever's on top, very, very helpful to help the reviewers, because they want to make sure that we do a good job. And they also want to make sure that we're very fair to the institutions, and that we still keep it rigorous, that we just don't cave in. You know, that's easy to do too, is just to cave in and say, well, we'll let that go, but that doesn't happen. So yes, it's a good 3-week commitment.
There like a calibration system where I know you're working independently first and then probably turning it to the lead reviewer, but we come together, the team members come together to discuss, debrief, compare their observations, or it's really truly a blind process? After your training, you just rate in?
Depends how comfortable you feel. I have worked with some first-time reviewers, and so being the lead person, they will often come and ask me questions because it just wasn't clear. Some things weren't clear. And I would say that if anyone is a lead reviewer, they are very helpful in helping those that want to become reviewers. I'm always interested in getting the young people, you young professors in the door, because there's going to be a time when we are not going to be doing it. I have had many colleagues retire and then they don't want to do anything more with the program reports. So we always need new people. So the few of us that are left, we're really willing to help you, believe me, because we want as many good reviewers as we can. So questions are not looked at as, oh, you're weak. Questions are to me is that you're strong and you dare to ask questions. So yeah, I would, you're not totally by yourself, but you don't write it together as a team. You write your own report first. And I think we all submit, actually, we all submit our personal reports too. And then you can't put the team report on until all the individuals have been written. So your individual one has to be really as detailed as the lead reporters would be. Because a lot of times as a lead reviewer, what I would do is someone just articulated something so well for like standard 5 that I would just copy and paste it into the team report. So yes. So are you ready to send in your report?
No. We're just beginning to think about the process.
Okay, all right.
This will be our first year that we don't do CAPE.
Oh,
So,
relief.
Yes, we came from NCAPE to CAPE, and but I just think that there is value added when you have an outside reviewer or evaluator, especially in our small program. It's basically me.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think it's so valuable to get other people looking at your program. And, we sample out our assessments to reading specialists and literacy coaches for feedback, but it's just looking at that whole program, I think, is important.
And I think you're going to find that that's very helpful for you in your program writing and in your program. Like you'll say, oh, we never even thought of this, but look what they did. And of course, you never can copy their exact thing without their permission, but it gives you a good insight on what needs to be done. But, and I find it, CAPE it gets you, you're missing this, you're missing that. And I did that, but I was a part of that, but I did not like that whole attitude. I love this attitude of, you got a great program. If you just do this or that, it's going to be top notch. So yeah, it's going to be very helpful to you.
So that was one of the questions that my dean sent for me to ask was, what's the timeline of the process? Like, could we start this prior to when our next CAPE review began? So.
Right. And I think with CAPE, at least they were at one time, if you're in the process, that you get a good check for that.
Okay.
CAPE is all about, you got it, you don't have it, this sort of thing. But and that's why you'll like this ILA. And to me, in Oklahoma, where they dropped CAPE, but you had to do everything for the state, and the state required basically that all the spas wrote a report just like we did with CAPE, but it wasn't sent to CAPE. It was just sent to state reviewers instead. Or you could send it to like the national organization like ILA, and then you didn't have to have state reviewers do it if you got this national recognition. Every state is different. I can't say for every state, but so to me, if you know, if your state says, oh, you were reviewed by ILA and you passed, you got this great distinction, that they're going to say you're good.
That's what we would love. I think one of the issues just with our program is we're very small. And so I'm afraid we may not qualify at my university, but I would love to be a reviewer and gain information that way.
You know, that's one thing that reviewers cannot nick anybody for, is that their program is small. In Oklahoma, we had some huge programs, and then we had some very, very small programs. But for ILA, that does not matter. You can be small. You just have to make sure that you collect data for every standard. But if it's one student, that's fine. And that's another thing with, since two of you are kind of in the process of writing, you want to make sure that your cycle, you're able to collect data for every standard, so that ILA can look at it and say, even though there were 2 students, there were maybe 3, 1, at least you have data for one, they call cycle. So, but you don't get dinged for being a small program. So I'm excited that there's at least 3 new reviewers I'm looking at. And you know what's really nice now with Zoom is that I didn't have that when I was reviewing, but now you can actually do a Zoom meeting with just your team, and you get to see each other too. Because at one time we had big ILA conventions, and it was so neat to go to a convention and say, we reviewed together, you know. So you actually become friends, good friends, because you're sharing the same thing. As we want them to look the best they can. So it's wonderful. I can't say enough. And that's why I've retired now, 4 years ago. This is why I don't want to give it up yet. I just really, really enjoy working with colleagues around the United States. So another thing that I'm just going to say at this point, when you're a reviewer, the best thing to do is, when you start really getting into the nitty-gritties, is take a look at and they're told that they have to write out the instructions that they are given to the students in great detail, so a reviewer can actually do the assignment. Okay, so once you have that well-written assignment that the student should be getting, what you can do is look at their rubric that they have, or how do they assess that the students have met that. It doesn't necessarily have to be a rubric, but how do they assess it to make sure that all the points that the students had to do are actually being evaluated. That's just an easy way for you to say, they said they did this and it was assessed too. So that's another thing. But as you're writing, that's something to remember, is that make sure those directions for each assignment are so well written that a reviewer could do them for you.